Hello, my name is George Fotopoulos. I would like to make a point to Mr. Murray. The last point you made in favor of the motion was that the people of Europe have the right to protect their identity and that their politicians should respect that right. And I would like to ask you why you feel that the presence of one or two or 1,000 people with a different identity within a society threatens the identity of the people who were in the society originally. Whether you believe that is a legitimate concern or a primal fear, and whether you agree that when a primal fear drives a crowd, they become a mob, and that a politician should follow a mob and not provide leadership by calming the mob down and giving them a reason. That's my question.
Thank you. And towards the back.
Hello, my name is Eli Liu. I was a student in University of Piraeus International European Studies. And I won't be very quick, but I am against the motion. And I would like to say that the European Union was an ex-colonial power. So most of the countries of the Third World were exploited from us. So now we cannot say that we don't accept them because most of their riches and their wealth were taken from us. And as for what Mr. Voridis said about our values as Europeans, it's the globalization that takes
Just repeat that sentence, will you, please? You stopped in the middle.
Yes, our values. Mr. Voridis talked about our values as European citizens, as humans. Well, I think globalization takes them from us and not immigrants. And about the shadow economy, it's the fault of the state control that doesn't eliminate it. And
right, okay, that'll do for the moment. Let's first of all get those points picked up. Douglas Murray, your response particularly to that challenge to you.
Right, very quickly. First of all, if I were Hassan in Syria, I would hope, among other things, that I would help to rebuild my country after the Assad dynasty had wrecked it so completely. I'd hope that I would stay and help to rebuild the country after the devastation caused by that family. Secondly, the gentleman here who said one or two people, the gentleman here said, why are you threatened by one or two people? I'm not threatened by one or two people. Nobody is threatened by one or two people. The figures I gave you showed we're not talking about one or two people. The figure I gave you at the very beginning was that people who identify as white British citizens are now a minority in their capital city. So we're not talking about one or two people, and it is very disingenuous to pretend that I was. Thirdly, the lady at the back, you say colonialism. I'd like to return the question to you. I don't deny the crimes of colonialism, not for a moment. I'd like to ask you a question. How long do former colonial countries have to be punished for then? How long do we have to have our identity erased for? Is there any end limit to it in your eyes, or is it only at the point of complete negation? And finally, why is it that it's only European former colonialist countries? One of the largest and most significant and longest colonial powers in history was the Turkish Empire. Do we do this to Turkey? Do we say to Turkey, you must have your identity erased as well as punishment for the past? Almost every single people in the world at some point has done something historically they could be punished for. But why, I wonder, is it that it is Europeans that we are always being heard, being offered that choice?
Douglas Murray's response to the Muslim woman's comments about colonialism and the wealth of Europe offers a poignant critique of the narrative of Western guilt that is prevalent in contemporary discussions about immigration and historical justice. He challenges the idea that Europe must perpetually atone for its colonial past, pointing out that history is not one-dimensional and that many other nations have histories of conquest and colonization, but are not held to the same standards of restitution and guilt. This argument draws attention to a perceived imbalance in how historical accountability is applied, suggesting a politicized narrative that selectively targets Western nations. It is important to note that the concept of historical guilt and reparations is complex and fraught with inconsistencies. For instance, Historian and author Victor Davis Hanson argues that while the West engaged in colonialism, it also led the movements for abolition of slavery and colonial independence. Hanson notes that Western civilization, despite its flaws, has made significant contributions to the moral and technological progress of humanity. Furthermore, the focus on Western guilt often ignores the contributions made by immigrants to their host countries. According to a report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OKCD immigrants contribute significantly to the economies of their host countries through entrepreneurship, filling vital job vacancies, and cultural enrichment. However, the narrative that frames immigrants solely as victims of historical injustices can overshadow these positive contributions, potentially fostering resentment rather than integration. Statistics from the European Union indicate that while many EU countries have taken steps to address historical injustices through various forms of reparations or symbolic gestures, these efforts have not always led to improved relations between native populations and immigrant communities. The European Commission's reports on integration stress that successful integration policies should focus on mutual respect and understanding rather than perpetuating narratives of guilt and victimhood. Other commentators, such as French philosopher Pascal Bruckner, have critiqued the tyranny of guilt in Europe, arguing that it hampers the continent's ability to confidently engage with the rest of the world on equal terms. Bruckner suggests that an excessive focus on historical grievances can prevent societies from moving forward and addressing contemporary challenges pragmatically. Douglas Murray's critique of the Western guilt narrative highlights a need for a more balanced and less accusatory approach in discussing historical issues. While it is crucial to acknowledge and learn from the past, it is equally important to recognize the complexities of history and the shared human propensity for both virtue and vice. By shifting the dialogue towards mutual respect and cooperation, societies can better manage the challenges of immigration and integration, fostering environments where all members can contribute positively and feel valued.